Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, August 31st, which means on the Asian account, the month has already ended. So we only got up to rank 20 on the Asian account. Oh well. We still get the chest. And the difference between a reward at rank 20 and a reward at rank 19 is not terribly different. Rank 19 got me to rank 23. Rank 20 sets me back to rank 24. Not a big deal. What is a bigger deal certainly is we have a watch and learn on the European account and nobody's online to watch and learn. But I guess that's fine. I could play over the weekend and deal with that. I need to do the Tavern Brawl. And let's see which one would more likely happen. I hate this overpowered quest, so I'm gonna get rid of that one. And then 2 games worth of Murlocs, two games worth of Mage and a bunch of Murlocs. And let's get the Tavern Brawl done first. Not a big fan of this Tavern Brawl, and I feel like it is a real slap in the face compared to all those Boomsday puzzles to just have these Tavern Brawl cards come back and really not be improved at all. Like, I was hoping that more would have happened. Not 100% sure what I was hoping, but I was hoping something more would have happened, or we would have gotten a different kind of Tavern Brawl. Add legendary magnets. Looking at everything, I guess that's 30 cards, and so that should be good enough to start playing. I have a ton of news, but after this recording, that's going to be it, so I'm just going to start burning through games. Next one we have on Steam is The Corridor on behalf of the dead. It says it's action, violent, nudity, sexual content, and gore. Let's see. It says survive fragmented dystopian memories and uncover the truth. What I think this is probably a combination of a bunch of random assets to make a horror game.
Let the hunt begin.
It's suffering from dark screenshot syndrome, which, like, honestly, if you're gonna make a horror game at all, you kind of need a brightly lit area to show off in the trailer, and you kind of need a brightly lit area at the beginning of your game anyways, just so that you can slowly move the player's mindset from being on guard to dropping their guard and using that against them. Yeah, I have no idea if this is really a game worth playing. Let's see, 5 achievements, 10% off, $13.49. I've rejected a lot of other people's games today, so I feel like I'm gonna
will rise
be
against you.
kind on this one. This one has at least a chance of being good. First game from this developer, so that one's going to the wish list. Which, that's probably the second game in 2 hours. Let's see. We already talked about Square Enix and Tencent wanting to make AAA games together. Gamma Sutra has the same article, I'm sure. It's all the same article. The Messenger is on Steam. It's rated very positive. 94% of 69 users. The Messenger is like a Shinobi-esque game. Platformer, fighting monsters, getting some other abilities, playing as a ninja. It looked like a really hard game every time I've seen this developer, somebody cover this game, but it's rated so highly, and it's $19.99. It has 40 Steam achievements, but it's not. I know it's not a Steam achievement game, so that's not a concern.
I'm warning you. I'm unstable.
So I have to bow to the masses on this one. I'm gonna put the Messenger in my wish list and consider it for purchase. TechRaptor has an article called Gene Rain Review -Gene Pain. Let's see. What is this game? What does this do? Summon a 1/1. This one will summon a 2/1.
Job's done.
There you go, I got a whole field. Well, this game, Gene Pain, looked like it was a 3D adventure game, but now the next screenshot makes it look like it's a first-person shooter game.
I wonder.
What kind of game is this? Well, whatever kind of game it is, they gave it a 1.0 awful. So apparently TechRaptor doesn't go for a full 0. But also, I do have to applaud TechRaptor for actually being willing to rate something low. Summary is, Gene Rain is a combination of so many terrible elements that at times it's genuinely completely baffling. At one point a character says existence has long been considered the only value in humans. I'm not sure I agree with him because the other value in humans is the ability to not play Gene Rain. Let's see. What was I supposed to do there? I think I screwed up.
Job's done.
Says the pros, I laughed at how bad it was. Cons, dumb, nonsensical story. Bad translation, extremely boring gameplay. Unnecessarily difficult, horrific voice acting, many reused assets. So, a real stinker. Next we have a game on Steam called Aggressor's Ancient Rome. It's mixed reviews, 57% of 14 user reviews. Now normally I'd say 14 user reviews is not enough to tell, but if nearly half of them are telling you the game is bad, that's my negative bias that I always look for in reviews. Because I really only want to hear from people who have a complaint. I don't want to hear from people who are just going to say what everybody else is saying, or say something's good. So let's see. It has 103 Steam achievements, so it looks like it's a Steam achievement game. It's $29.99. See if we can get a user review to see what it says as far as negative. Alright. The first not recommended review I see says, I'm sure this game is a work of passion for the developers and they have invested much of their skill and work in it. However, it is not my cup of tea and it leaves me with a feeling of been there, done that compared with any Civ game with or without mods. There's tons of work put into it and I know there's probably much depth and potential in this game, but I'm not willing to chew all the gristle just to get to the meat. Plain and simple, the gameplay is clunky and cumbersome and does not leave me with that I've got to have one more turn feeling this reviewer is using too many phrases. You don't have to go super fancy with the phrasing. Let's see. I'm sorry, but I can't honestly, I cannot recommend this game in its current state. It feels more like work than fun. The developers surely have more skill and talent than I, but I'm not willing to invest my money in this effort. So yeah. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I kind of tend to agree that Aggressor's Ancient Realm is probably a not as good of a game as it needs to be. Oddly, this developer apparently is also the same developer who made Battlestar Galactica Deadlock, the Broken Alliance DLC, which kind of means something, but clearly it doesn't mean that much. Game of Citra has an article. Nintendo files takedown notice against Pokemon fan game creation tool. Is this the same fan game? Yeah, this is Pokemon Essentials, the RPG Maker-esque collection.
Will rise against you. What?
So no new news there. Next game we have on Steam is called Paper Front, which is written in pen, drawn in pen on grid paper game where you play as a tank and you're shooting very fast at other tanks. And there's like walls with spikes on them. And that's kind of it. While the artistic style is a little unique and interesting, the gameplay itself is boring and cliche. This game is in English and Russian, which is suspicious. It has 36 Steam achievements, which seem to all be numbers and letters, which that would be right, wouldn't it? 26 plus 10. It's 15% off for 84 cents. So let's moving on.
Versus
Let's see.
Let the hunt begin. Bring it on.
I don't know if it really needs to get mentioned that the part of the reason why China is censoring and trying to stop kids from being on online games is because if China controls all the TV they see, all the radio they hear, and all the information they get, they can make a new generation that will not question the Chinese government's authority, which is kind of already the case, but they want even more unquestioning loyalty. Whereas playing online games means you're exposed to the rest of the world and other ideas and other opinions, and they can't regulate what people are saying in chat in online games. At least they have yet to find a way to regulate that and control that, so they're trying to stop it from happening. That's almost certainly part of the reason. It's not just protectionism, it's also literally population control. But moving on, Rock Paper Shotgun has an article. Multiplayer Ninja 'em Up, Naruto the Boruto Shinobi Striker is out now. Let's see, what is it out on? PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Alright. It's $50 on Steam. So let's go ahead and click the link and see how it's doing. Mostly positive, 77% of 253 users. So Naruto and Boruto, I suppose, the continuation, is apparently a lot more popular than I thought it was at this point. I thought the fandom would have died out for it. This game, I don't think is a fighting game, and that's what I think I said this last week, is that I was very surprised to find it wasn't actually a fighting game, that instead it was a beat 'em up game with some character customization apparently too. Yeah, I totally be willing to play this. Unfortunately, it includes de nouveau. And it has some online multiplayer, so there might be fighting online, but also it looks like it's capture the flag type gameplay online. Interesting.
What we do.
And it seems like they can jump really far and run on walls and do all kinds of actions, and it seems pretty fast paced. At its current rating level, it seems like the game runs pretty well. It is a high price, certainly, and in all honesty, I would probably only play this game through whatever story mode it has, if it has a story mode, or I would just spotlight it for a short time. And I wouldn't be surprised if I spent less than 5 hours on the game in total, so it becomes rather difficult to justify paying that price. Although, frankly, since I'm so far behind, spending $60 on a game I know I'm going to only spend about 5 hours on might be the right move. I might need to be spending more money because I have less time. Can't afford that, certainly, but it might make sense. Moving on, I'll put Naruto Boruto in the wishlist. We have a game on Steam called Imperium Frontier. It says it's a real-time strategy. It's one of these space real-time strategy games that never interest me. The menus don't look extremely good. The graphics are on par for these styles of games. It's 22 achievements, 30% off for $8.39, which oddly might be a little cheap for this style of game. Okay. This guy's a mech, which means I could do this. And then I could do this.
The Brotherhood shall prevail.
I can do this. And Imperium Frontier is the first game from this developer, so no thank you. We'll close that. Next we have an early access game on Steam called Chomp that says it's a 2D arena fighter with a lot of gore and fast-paced action. It has kind of a heavily inked outline, black outline characters, like a comic book, a little bit like Gearbox, except for like Borderlands, except for I would say this artistic style is a little more cartoony than Borderlands. Borderlands created a pretty unique artistic style because it had the angles of a realistic character's with a cartoony comic book textures. Where I would say this game is cartoony textures with cartoony angles, character models. And when I look at the game, it instead of a trailer, now I see something completely different, and it just looks like a multiplayer platformer type Smash Brothers style clone, sort of. It's 10% off for $10.79, and once I started looking at the other screenshots and realizing that the game I was looking at before doesn't exist, I'm like pretty disappointed with what the actual product is. Let's see, is there anything that would make me suggest Chop? No, it's first game from this developer too, so no credibility. Next game we have on Steam is called Cortex Protocol. It says it's a puzzle-oriented VR game. You have to clear interesting mazes shaped like Rubik's Cubes. What this game, I think, might look a little bit like is if you've tried to make a video game like the movie Cube, but put your own little changes to it. It is also, I guess, yeah, you have a cube, and as you tilt the cube, you can you shift the facility, but that just puts you inside a Rubik's Cube, so I don't know how that changes things. It's got a release date of coming soon, and it's the first game from this developer, although it has a Mind Over Matter logo, but they're not labeling that as the publisher or anything. So yeah, the publisher and the developer is not Mind Over Matter, but that's logos on the front of it. It's a VR game. I assume it requires VR. It's not out yet, so there's really nothing to say about Cortex Protocol until it's out, but it's probably not going anywhere. Not going to succeed. Let's go ahead and take that victory and move on. Next game we have on Steam is called Shadows Awakening. Done with the Town Brawl, thank goodness. It's positive 95% of 20 user reviews, which is pretty small, but it's better than being at 50% with 14 user reviews. So it's a RPG, action, hack and slash fantasy according to the tags. Let's see how many other things do we have. Spelunking and playing monsters and winning games with the mage. Probably gonna have to just play off screen a lot. Come on, I have a mage. Freeze mage, start playing. Let's see. Is Shadows Awakening a game worth playing? It kind of looks like it's a very pretty game. It looks kind of like a World of Warcraft clone, but it's single player only, so it's an RPG hack and slash. I could see that, like a Diablo type game. I've got to put it on my wish list. I got to keep an eye on it. It has 45 achievements for $40 or $39.99. Yeah, this is a game that might be very good. Developer doesn't have great credibility, however. Only one of his other games has been rated higher than mixed, besides Shadows Awakening, but I still think I need to keep an eye on it and look at it and see after a while if somehow it would compete with instead playing something like Torchlight, which Torchlight would be the better choice, almost certainly. Here's a game that's probably a meme game, but I wanted to mention it either. Anyway, it's Super Streaker Plus. It's a game where you play as a streaker. It's a 8-bit pixel things. You're a completely bald man wearing no clothes with a black bar covering your genitals, and you run onto a
What to do? What to do?
Seems like an out of scale, very large soccer field, and there are British policemen chasing after you, and you're getting a very large soccer ball that is way bigger than it should be, and you can use it to kick it and hit the police, and when you hit the police they disappear and you get points. But the soccer players try to take the ball from you, so they're wandering around on the field, and if the ball gets anywhere near them, you're in trouble. And it seems like the entire game is just that. You're gonna try to stay as far as possible for as long as possible on the field. And as I'm watching the demo, now big, strong, burly guys have showed up on the field, and they're throwing things at you. So it seems like there's more enemies are appearing to avoid. But basically it's just keep away.
Unravel.
And yeah, this probably is a joke game. It's 25% off for $3.74. It's probably not worth $3.74. It's the only game from this developer, but I'm gonna wishlist it anyways because I think it would be kind of funny to play, or at least I'm gonna think about maybe playing it at some point. Let's see, Gematsu has an Disgaea 1 complete Earth's Mightiest Heroes trailer. So this is a 1 minute and 13-second trailer, which I guess will give me an opportunity to
What to do? What to do?
Unravel.
To play a little bit here. See if I can actually win this. Interesting. I thought Disgaea was a fantasy game, but apparently not. It's more of a sci-fi game.
No more take candles.
Well, apparently it might be a little bit sci-fi and a little bit fantasy. Let's see.
I found it first.
Unravel.
Job done.
Apparently these are new characters being added to Disgaea 1, as far as I can tell from the trailer. Anyways, Gematsu has a different article. Square Enix and Aiming, apparently Aiming is the name of a video game programming company.
I found it first.
Let's see. They announced a new RPG called Gestalt Odin for smartphones. There's like a teaser, and that seems like all there really is to it right now, so we'll close that article. Rock Paper Shotgun has the Twin Mirror demo and the mysterious case of, hey, what happened to my shirt?
Reporting for duty.
Which they got hands-on with the demo of Twin Mirror. The other game being made by Don't Nod. I think with Control coming out and Twin Mirror potentially coming out around the same time, unless Control really drops the ball, it's gonna be 3 or 4 times better than whatever Don't Nod can do with Twin Mirror. But, well, that again is a situation that just we need to wait until it happens. No reason to get on the hype train for Twin Mirror ever, or Control. We've got a game on Steam called Zion, X-I-O-N. Says it's a VR shoot 'em up adventure, and it seems like in VR you're flying a pixely spaceship around a pixely city, very blocky, Minecraft-ish, and you're shooting against other enemies. It requires VR, is 40% off for $8.99. I think, again, you'd probably get motion sick, and the game's probably not that great. The only other game this developer seems to have made is Horde Z, which somehow has a positive rating. Sorry, I just don't buy it, so I'm going to close that one. TechRaptor has an article, Journey Through Evolution and Cells to Singularity. What is this? Cells to Singularity was a game at Play NYC, so
reporting for duty.
So that it has like no release date or anything, or things. You can, oh, actually, you can play the game now by going to its website or download it for Android or Google Play, so yeah, if you're interested in Cells to Singularity, Google it, I suppose.
What
doesn't
to do? What to do?
Doesn't look like it's that interesting of a game. Maybe another space shooter style game. Ooh, why didn't I play that earlier? Why didn't I play that first?
Job's done.
Here's another game that is probably a low effort game, troll game. It's called The Turdler. That is THEE space TURDLER. And it's a VR game where you play as a toddler and you throw things and make a mess. And you try and break things. It's a standard, you know, VR game where you're in one place doing things. It doesn't look amazingly good, but might interest a few people. It is $2.99. If you want to throw a temper tantrum and play as a toddler, this probably is the game for you. But for everybody else, it's still probably not that good of a game and not worth it, so move on. Next game I have on Steam is called Trains VR. It's a virtual reality trains game. It looks actually pretty good. I've seen several trains games. Being in VR kind of even makes sense because it's like a train set in a basement. You're doing all of the decorating and such. Single player, 22 achievements, 15% off for $12.74. I'm not sure how many adults who can afford VR really are interested in in wooden trains sets and train sets at all, but I think it's there and I think it works. This developer has made a mixed bag of games that are either positive or mixed reviewed, so that gives them a little bit of credibility. So I'm gonna wishlist it just in case I ever want to play a trains game, but there's probably 3 or 4 trains games on my wishlist already. Let's see, next game we have on Steam is called Unending Dusk. It says it's an early access action adventure RPG indie game. Looks like it is a hack and slash brawler.
Reporting for duty.
Maybe not so much a hack and slash always, because you can pick different enemy characters that do different attacks, and not only one of them has a sword. It doesn't look bad so far.
Is there trouble?
Let the pain speak to me.
Let's see.
An incredible discovery!
Job's done.
You can pick up mods to increase your attack ability and your powers. This early access game is 20% off for $9.59. It's a little too expensive and it's early access, so I wouldn't want to play this, but this really feels like some of the old arcade games where you're just always going to the right, always attacking. This developer has not made anything else, but I'm going to keep an eye on Unending Dusk and hope it turns out for the best. I'm supposed to be winning right now, and I'm not really succeeding at that. The already overhyped game, 2 Point Hospital, is now on Steam. It's rated very positive at 85% of 1,364 user reviews, so apparently it is good. At that point, the spiritual successor to Theme Hospital, which apparently is a British fan favorite but isn't really known of in the United States. I have to bow to the mob and say this game is definitely worth looking at and getting. And so it's going straight to the wish list. It does have de novo, unfortunately, but ignoring that, it's 21 achievements, 10% off right now for $31.49. Yeah, this gotta go to the wish list. What probably doesn't need to go to the wish list is Mahjong Club, even though it's rated mostly positive, 78% of 42 user reviews. The problem here with this game is a casual indie board game anime. Little anime girls that are going to play real Mahjong with you, not Mahjong Solitaire, which is what most Mahjong games are. The problem here is I don't think the interface is going to be very well translated, or anything's going to be very well translated to English. And so while I almost certainly could muddle my way through playing Mahjong, I'm not amazingly good at it, and these characters are going to be talking to you, and you're going to get a slight visual novel responses.
None will survive.
Interesting, it says it's dedicated to all of those who love Japanese Mahjong. I kind of don't think Mahjong is inherently a Japanese creation. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually like a Korean creation. Maybe there's a Japanese version of Mahjong. This doesn't look bad, but it's in English and simplified Chinese. It's not even in Japanese. So, like, what are they doing here? It's 20% off for $3.99. But yeah, I just don't think there's going to be great quality here. The idea is cool, but I don't think there's going to be polish. So, since I have no faith in it, this developer has made nothing else on Steam, I'm closing that. And see, as it is 8:04 p.m. right now, I don't even really have enough energy in me to get into a rant about this article. So, I'm just gonna report it and then move on. I'm also trying to rush. PC Gamer has an article, Riot Games commits to 7 steps to drive cultural change around sexism and harassment. The League of Legends studio issued an extensive apology for its behavior and committed to major changes going forward. I do want to, in a follow-up before reading this article, say that some of the other stories that came out about problems that ex-employees say they saw at Riot are much more credible than what Kotaku reported on originally, or at least what I saw that Kotaku reported on, because the initial report was that there was basically, it sounded like one disgruntled employee who felt she was talked over and who felt she wasn't included in quote-unquote standing meetings, which basically she probably wasn't included because there's no such thing as a standing meeting. She was just interrupting a group of other people talking. And running bad meetings certainly will allow people to talk over each other, and that's not how to run meetings, certainly. But there was certainly no police reports, no accusations of anything that would be really bad at all, nothing that would even want to be brought up. And even in the follow-up reports, as more people jumped on the bandwagon, more employees who don't work for Riot anymore and very possibly are disgruntled, even as they tried to bandwagon and strengthen the claims, it really wasn't very strong complaints. The story, like the stories I heard were employees would hang out with each other and go to strip clubs afterwards, which, I mean, I don't know how you really put a stop to that if it's just employees deciding to do something after hours. If you're not having business meetings there, that's fine. And also, I guess you would just, unless you're going to do what I would probably suggest companies do, is say we have a strict no socializing outside of work policy. We want you to keep your work friends at work and your outside friends outside, and so nobody socialize at work at all. And then people asking one of the employees, she said they asked her how her sex life worked when in a long distance relationship and when she lost her virginity, which again, if this was doing socializing, it's probably not appropriate at all. It doesn't sound appropriate, but I don't know how much of any of that had to do with Riot's control. And had those been issues that were brought up in the first article, I would certainly have given it a lot more credibility. And also, had this Kotaku article not happened on the anniversary of Gamergate and clearly been at least rushed, if not written poorly, just to distract, then I might have given it more credibility. But that first article is garbage, and still it doesn't sound like Riot really has too much of an issue. Like almost any job. I heard like Riot has like 10,000 employees, so I mean, what do you do there? You just address it when it happens. But the story kept getting pushed and pushed, and eventually they just came out and said, "We're sorry, we'll fix it." They kowtowed to the SJWs, and they're gonna regret it because now they know they can bully Riot into doing whatever they want, and they will just bully them. But the only thing I think Riot could have done is either hoped for it to blow over or say none of these accusations are factually accurate at all, and it's frankly insulting to our HR department and management staff that such allegations are being made. None of these complaints have ever been we've handled every single complaint that's ever been given to us in a professional and appropriate manner, and for former employees to bring up issues that they did not bring up with us during their time in employment is completely unfair and not something we can do anything with. That would be probably my response. And I would say our management staff and HR department does a great job, and I'm very proud of it, and stand behind your current employees that way. Let's see. So, is there a real breakdown here of what these 6 steps are? Or it's just 6 sentences. One of the things is they don't want to scare new talent from joining their company, which is a slight problem. Yeah, if everybody's terrified of working at your company. Sorry, been talking too long.
An incredible discovery.
Short term, here's a tweet I can quote from Riot Games. Short term, we've committed to revisiting our cultural tenets, our manifesto, and how we define gamer, which could mean a lot of different things. It could mean nothing. It could mean that if they have some written cultural tenets, that's interesting. They have a manifesto. They probably shouldn't call it a manifesto. Like you would call it a business charter, I would imagine. And how you define gamers, like
amazing.
The only appropriate definition I would say for gamer is somebody who plays video games. If you're using any other gamer, any other description, you're probably wrong. Like,
amazing.
We're partnering with outside experts to bring unbiased eyes into reevaluating talent, culture, and holding ourselves accountable. Which, okay, like,
Well played.
which almost certainly that there is probably a bigger issue of a lot of basically scam services out there that will come into a company and say, you don't have enough African Americans in here, you need more African Americans, and it's not based on merit or anything. It's just you need to meet a diversity quota, which
Pain, speak to me.
doesn't inherently help anybody except for that one person
I found it first.
that gets hired, and then that one person that gets hired is probably also the first person to get fired when times get tough, because they probably didn't deserve to be there in the first place.
Amazing.
The tweet on the second tweet continues, we're doubling down on educating all riders about creating an inclusive environment. Rioters
A tactical
are,
error.
as in their employees, they need to quit using that term. We're setting off on a long journey, and we'll update you along the way. Nothing is off limits. We aren't afraid of what we'll lose in the process. We only look forward to what we'll gain. Come on. Do I have a Murloc deck? Let's make a Murloc deck and play the Murloc cards real quick. Let's see. Shaman.
If you make a wild
I've
deck,
heard that a
you can
million
only
times. I
use
don't
it
need to
in
hear it
wild games.
again. Let's see. The thing here, and the reason why there's any resistance in my head as far as what is being said here, is that I've just seen way too many instances of somebody trying to be capitulatory. No, that's not a word. They try to be graceful. They try to work with people who have complaints. They try to be rational and reasonable, but that being rational and reasonable only works, unfortunately, when the other party is rational and reasonable. And SJWs just aren't. They're this amorphous blob of people that like could be anyone and everyone, or could be no one. So it only takes like one person to cause a complaint, and they will convince all the other people, all the other SJWs, to jump on that bandwagon, and it start harassment campaigns, which is what SJWs say they're against, but they enact and do quite often. Let's see. Let's see the 7 steps. At the top of the list is expansion of the studio's cultural and diversity and inclusion initiative, which they already had one, so they're simply expanding it. Okay. It will also examine its cultural definitions, including use of language in specific terms, which inherently that sounds like they're going to get pushed into language policing themselves, so they can't use any words to describe anything ever. Let's see. External consulting companies are being engaged to guide the process, and internal investigation systems have been beefed up. They also set up a hotline. I know they said training at all levels will be a focus, including interview training and anti-harassment training. We're also investing in anti-bias training to encourage behaviors that foster fair and inclusive work environment. Geez, if I started working for a company and they started doing some of this stuff, I'd really be halfway out the door. Like, particularly if my life goal and my dream which was at one point my dream to be a video game programmer. If I got into a company and I'm like, yeah, I get to program and make games, and then I'm getting taken away from doing what I love to go through a bunch of training like this, I would not be happy, to say the least. This is PC Gamer continuing the push here. The next paragraph here says, it's fair and obvious to say that promises are easy and mission statements are just ink on paper. What will matter is what Riot actually does going forward. But one point under its breakdown of investigation process suggests the studio is serious. We are prepared to make big changes and have begun taking action against specific cases, including removal of rioters, though we aren't likely to get into those details publicly on a case-by-case basis for legal and privacy reasons. And certainly that was the big juicy steak that they threw out there. Is like, oh yeah, we're firing people. It's like, oh, which is really what they wanted. They want Riot to fall apart and start firing its employees left and right, making room for SJWs to come in and take over, even though they're not qualified to be working in the video game industry.
I wonder.
Like, the two stories that came out is Megan Mary wrote a story called 6 Months at Riot Games, and then Barry Hawkins wrote a story, the story of why I left Riot Games. So that gets it down to like potentially as little as 2 people had complaints, because I don't think they named the first complainant in the Kotaku article. But let's just say for ease of argument that actually was a third different person. So from what I've heard, there's 10,000 employees at Riot, and there's 3 people, 3 disgruntled employees is all I can call them. So yeah, I think Riot Games will probably regret this, but maybe this is what they're hoping will shut Kotaku up. Let's see. Gamma Sutra just republished the same articles. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to get super upset around that either, because I'm trying to burn through the news and be finished and wrap up this stream.
Job done.
Let's see, we've got a game on Steam called Drift Punk Racing, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are people, like, I haven't gotten any feedback on those kinds of stories. Maybe I should just not mention them anymore. Like, there might be people that just tune me out. There might be people that get mad and leave when I cover these stories. I certainly don't want to have to talk about other stories. The Riot story in particular, Riot Game story, should have never been a story in the first place. Like, Drift Punk Racer is on Steam. It doesn't look amazingly good, and I think you would need it to be amazingly good for what it is. It's like a drifting arcade style racing game. It's 30% off for $4.89. And the interface is just not polished enough, and there's wireframe backgrounds with full textures on the cars. I swear I saw a game almost exactly like this earlier today. Let's move on. Next game we have on Steam is called Mr. Mart. It's a VR game where you're apparently working in a grocery store. Again, it's one of these VR games where you're doing a job that just doesn't sound fun. It's 31 Steam achievements for $14.99. It doesn't look very well animated. It looks just kind of ridiculous. And it's the first game from that developer, so let's move on. PC Gamer has an article. Bungie may have accidentally fixed Destiny 2's matchmaking, but a lot of players preferred it buggy. Many players feel skill-based matchmaking has returned and they're sad to see it back. I don't care about Destiny 2, so I'm just going to leave that article as it is. If you care about Destiny 2, then that's out there for you to read. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Fly of Butterfly. Looks like it's a butterfly simulation game. It looks pretty awful. Just random things. Animations, and it's just ridiculous. Yeah, really bad looking. 34% off for $1.31. I wouldn't even pay 60 cents for it. We've got a game on Steam called Fern's Gate, F-E-R-N-Z Gate. It's an action RPG indie casual game. Looks like it probably is an RPG Maker style game. Interesting character, an African American character, and a Japanese RPG game. Don't see that very often. Usually there's a reason for it too. Well, that puts me in a weird position because there's nothing looks terrible about this game, but then it is just an JRPG of unknown, like, of an unknown pedigree, I guess is what you would say. 6 more Murlocs need to be played, in the sense that it's not a Final Fantasy game. If I was going to play a game like this that looked like this, I'd just play Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of those early ones. And let's see. The other games by this developer, only one of them is rated positive, the others have no ratings. And this publisher has published like 3 games that are rated positively.
Versus Tyrande.
Like, I just don't think you want to play a small-time RPG. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm gonna move on. Next game we have is called Duck Life Battle. What kind of game is this? Is it a golfing game? Where you're playing as a duck? Or you're running around? Seems like you have some kind of fighting system that's going on here. But also you play volleyball and a bunch of other mini games. Is this some kind of like Mario Party? I think this might be some kind of Mario Party clone. Even at that though, and I don't think it's animated in a way that catches my attention. It's $3.99, no discount.
I wonder.
Apparently it says it's coming from mad.com. apparently there's also a duck-like space that's 72% positive rated.
Welcome to the exam. I don't buy it. I don't buy this as a game worth your time. Probably because it's small fry too. So let's hit that. And that. Your Gamer has an article. The Witcher card game's Gwent single-player story campaign is now a 30-hour standalone RPG due in Q4. CD Projekt Red has revealed that Thronebreaker, its long in development single-player story campaign for the Witcher-themed free-to-play collectible card game Gwent, has evolved into a 30-hour RPG and will be sold as a standalone title. So, I suppose what this is an admittance that Gwent did not catch on to be as popular as Hearthstone, which, okay, or, you know, Magic the Gathering, the Pokemon, or Yu-Gi-Oh! So, the idea of turning it into an RPG is interesting because now that lets them have this middle ground RPG that's set in the Witcher universe without it being a full Witcher game. Although there is also kind of some weirdness here because, like, is the way I was reading this article seemed to almost imply that it was going to be still playing Gwent, but it was a separate storyline, single player Gwent. And I think that is the case because it's being called Gwent Thronebreaker. So the trailer I just saw still heavily implies that it is a card game. Blossomed into a full-scale RPG with a campaign around 30 hours full of choices and consequences, albeit one where actions are still decided by the outcome of Gwent games. Yes, so you are still playing Gwent. You're just having to play Gwent to do the storyline, which I don't know if that would really convince people who really don't want to play Gwent to play Gwent. Let's see. Well, gotta hit that, and that, and that. And then Compulsion Games and Gearbox Publishing quietly snuck out We Happy Few soundtrack and digital goods bundle, which is $7.99 for the well, I guess the soundtrack and some digital goods, which are probably just some wallpapers. Yeah, doesn't seem like it's anything else. So not only are they ripping you off for the game We Happy Few, which is not worth buying, and the season pass for We Happy Few, they also wanted you to buy some more. The total bundle now for everything We Happy Few is $87.97. That is quite a high price for a game that at most should have been $15 for the whole game. no season pass, and soundtrack and digital goods should always be included in any game. So I'm definitely closing that. TechRaptor has their review for the game The Messenger, which I guess I kind of don't need to see that since I've already I've already decided to put it on my wish list. But they gave it a 9.5 amazing, so they're in love with it too. Again, I'll bow to popularity there. Everybody seems to love The Messenger, so clearly I should check it out. We've got a game on Steam called Special Warfare. It probably is a low effort asset flip first person shooter. It's the first game from this developer, 15% off for $5.94. And yeah. Well, again, these asset flips, these low effort games now look pretty good. So it's getting harder and harder to find them and define them. But yep, I'll close Special Warfare. I'm almost done with the news, but I'm also 13 minutes over this recording, and I'm also nowhere close to getting daily quests done, so I'm gonna have to just play off screen, and I think it's gonna be a full off screen. I'm not gonna bother to stream it even in a silent post show. I'm just gonna take it easy. We've got a game on Steam called My Grandfather's Farm. It looks kind of like a really zoomed in 3D Harvest Moon type game, farming game. It's way too zoomed in for its own good. It looks like it might be a mobile cell phone port game. It does not look good. The textures are all over the place. Like, it might play really well, but it looks really bad. It's $17.99. It's in English and German only, and it's from a developer who's made nothing else, so we'll leave that. PC Gamer has an article. Acer's new 485-pound gaming chair has room for a PC and 3 monitors. It's apparently named after the ancient Greek chair, an ancient Greek chair not to be confused with Thanos. So it's called the Predator Thronos, Thronos. And it looks really cool looking, and I'd love to have one, but I bet it's $4,000 to $7,000. Acer didn't say how much it costs though. Game Studio is a weekly jobs roundup. Game designer for Embodied in Pasadena, California. Associate editorial manager for Digital Extremes in London, Ontario, Canada. Senior programmer journalist for In9 Games in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Gameplay engineer for Wargaming in Chicago, Illinois. Principal character artist for Cloud Imperium Games in Los Angeles, California. Let's see, GameIndustry.biz. $19.5 billion was spent on video games in the US during the first half of 2018, according to NPD. Which, okay, that's good information, but I'm going to also opt to not read the article any further than that. Since that's just a financial story. Gematsu RPG Maker MV for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Japanese voice cast announced. Why there's a Japanese voice character for RPG Maker MV, I don't know. Apparently, there's 3 characters that are always going to be in the game for these. I think RPG Maker because it's a console game, MV is not really going to be very useful for actually making an RPG, and that might explain the voice cast listed, and having a voice cast at all. I could probably just concede at this point and accomplish my goals. We have a game on Steam called Generic Jumper. I don't think you need to know anything else to know it's not good. $6.99, English and French. Interesting, 2 languages. Doesn't look amazingly awful. They never do, but certainly not worth really playing. Let's see here. Here. We have a game on Steam called Evocation. Let's see, it says it's a colorful hardcore platformer that will make you sweat. The main thing you need to overcome all obstacles in perseverance and reaction. And it looks like it's kind of a generic run jump platformer. It's got some good looking assets that I imagine have just been bought and merged together for boring backgrounds and boring environments. Yeah, 14 achievements, 40% off for $2.99. Don't think that one needs to be. According to Steam, this developer hasn't even developed one game. So, must have been a bug there.
Job's done.
And next we have a game called Just Beat 'em Up World of Fury? F-U-R-Y? I assume it's Fury and not Furry.
You are safe
It would be
now.
2 R's, I guess, if it was Furry. This is basically a beat 'em up game. The graphics don't look quite as sharp as I'd like them to see, and it seems like the characters, at least one of the characters, is intentionally floating above the ground and has some kind of magical ability. I don't know, I've seen some other beat 'em up games recently, so I don't think this one can make it to the wish list because it's just so ugly looking. Like, I don't see how that happens. Anyways, the Just Beat 'em Up World of Fury is 10% off for $6.29. And I'm pausing. Actually, I don't think I did too bad today. Like, I could have been a lot sleepier. And I think over the weekend, if everything goes well, I'll be actually wide awake during the time I stream at the right time. If everything goes well. No guarantees that will be the case, though. Let's see. Gematsu has an article, Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 4, details quest and minigames. Some more details of that game. The only thing to reinforce here, though, in this slow drip of information is that it's due out for the PS4 on September 27th in Japan. I imagine it'll come to the West though. That series tends to. And then Gematsu has an article, Suspense Visual Novels, Secret Game, Killer Queen and Rebellions, Secret Game Second Stage, coming to Switch on September 27th in Japan, which is a couple more visual novels coming to the Switch, as everybody now knows that the Vita is not going to be supported for very much longer. And that takes me to the Humble Bundle store, and there's nothing new there. And I don't have anything, I think, important to announce at the end of this Friday as far as Twitter. So, yeah. I think we are good. Not great. I have a Watch and Learn, I have a Spelunker, and I need to get 2 victories with the Mage. I have gotten all the Tavern Brawls done, so like when this goes away in one day, I don't have to worry about that, but there's gonna be a lot of stuff off screen that I'm just gonna do, which I don't think anybody's gonna really miss, frankly. That's gonna be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, I'm asking people to friend me on Steam and gift me a game, or donate to my Patreon down below in the description. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.